led to a lot of quick conversations, decisions made on the fly, trying to incorporate as many people's opinions and feedback as possible, but ultimately, you have to move quickly.
Imagine running a nonprofit that caters to the senior population right now. Hi, I'm Joshua Carlsen, co-founder of Propelo Media. In today's Ask an Expert segment, I'm going to be sitting down with Caitlin Sly. She's the executive director of Meals on Wheels Diablo Region. Because COVID-19 is especially dangerous to the senior population, they've actually seen a 40% increase in demand. And so what they've had to do is adapt quickly to be able to follow proper safety precautions, but still be able to respond and service that increased demand. Now let's get started and see what she has to say. All right, Caitlin, welcome and thank you for coming on our Ask an Expert segment.
Thank you for having me.
Perfect. So the first thing that I want to do is, as the leader for Meals on Wheels Diablo Region, a nonprofit, I would like to just get a general sense of what these past few months have been like for you individually as well as organizationally.
They have been pretty wild. I started in January, so I started at the end of January as the new executive director here. And so I definitely did not see my first 5 months going the way they have.
Sure.
What I thought my challenges would be and what they've become are two very different things.
Right.
So for me, it's been, in a weird way, a great learning experience
Hmm.
because everything I thought I was preparing for has kind of gone out the window. So I've really had to, it's been a lesson for me in having to pivot quickly and change plans and really rethink all of our programs before I really even got to know all of our programs.
Right.
So it's been challenging, but a really great learning experience for me. As an organization, it has been very challenging in that we've had to quickly ramp up services and change the way we're doing other services. So, at Meals on Wheels, everybody knows our core program is home delivered meals to
Right.
homebound seniors. And because of COVID, we've seen that need increase because not only do we have the seniors that we were serving that are already homebound, but we have a large amount of people that were homebound because of COVID.
Right.
And so our meal delivery increased by more than 40% in a
Wow.
matter of a couple months.
Okay.
So it was very challenging for our organization to ramp up quickly, but we have a great staff, a great group of volunteers that really support us. And so we were able to do that pretty quickly.
So you mentioned pivot, which is a buzzword that's going around right now, and it's an important buzzword because I think virtually every organization has had to pivot in some capacity. Aside, obviously a 40% increase is huge. What are the pivots? Aside from having a great team, which is fantastic. How do you do this? I mean, how does that actually happen? Effectively overnight, right? I mean, because it happens so quickly.
Yeah, you really we had to have a ton of quick conversations,
Mhm.
myself and our various program managers getting together and figuring out, okay, so given the new county health order, how are we going to change things to meet the requirements? We were also thinking about it, early in February as we
Okay.
saw it coming and
Emerging.
ramping up of,
Right.
okay, well, if this happens, how will we change services? So a couple of things that we had to do is typically we deliver a meal every day,
Yeah.
and we really needed to reduce that contact between volunteers and clients. So we went
Right.
to once a week delivery of a week's worth of frozen meals
Okay.
to help reduce that. That obviously means that there's a lot more meals and it's difficult to fit in, our volunteers' personal cars. So we were able to partner with the local bus company and they obviously were not running as many buses. And so their drivers were able to drive the buses to help deliver meals.
Sure.
So some really great partnerships resulted because of this. We had to change the way we were doing our in-person exercise classes. We couldn't
Right.
do those anymore, and now we're trying to figure out how do we do those on Zoom when they're for seniors who may not be as used to using Zoom as you and I are.
Sure.
So we were having to kind of rethink every single program. Um, and so it's led to a lot of quick conversations, decisions made on the fly, trying to incorporate as many people's opinions and feedback as possible, but ultimately, you have to move quickly.
Sure. Well, given that you guys do service, the population that is older, which is higher risk, we've been looking at forecasting, and a lot of businesses are looking at forecasting. But the reality is, this virus is not going anywhere soon, right? So do you feel like some of the things you're doing are intermediate as far as how you've transitioned, or do you think that there will be long-term changes that you guys will implement and adopt as, hey, this is just the standard way that we do things moving forward?
I think there are going to be some long-term changes. I don't know if they will be forever,
Hmm.
but I think some of the changes we've made certainly are going to have to remain until we have a vaccine. So I think it's going to be a long time before we're able to have in-person exercise classes of, you know, 15 to 20 seniors in
Right.
one room. I think it's going to be a while before we're able to do in-person fall prevention classes and balance classes. Um, so I think, doing things over the internet, doing things over Zoom, those are going to have to be more long-term solutions
Sure.
because we're not going to be able to have people come together and congregate in a senior center for I think a very long time. Another one of our programs is that we run 6 cafes throughout Contra Costa County,
Okay.
and that's where seniors come and they sit down for a meal. And so that's probably not going to happen again for a while. Right now, all those folks are getting home delivered meals.
Okay.
And I think, we may be able to reopen with very few people coming in and having them sit very far apart. But how many people will want to come in and do that when so much of what they come to the cafe for is the social interaction? So I think for us, it's rethinking how we're able to provide services.
Hmm.
um, and really, so much of what we do is combat social isolation among seniors, which was a problem before COVID and is even a bigger problem now as we're
That was
all,
going to be my next question, was talking about
yeah,
mental health, mental wellness. How are you guys? I mean, what are you seeing and how are you addressing it?
we're definitely seeing that people are more lonely
Okay.
and more isolated than ever before. And that's why we're lucky that we have a care management team, which
Hmm.
do one-on-one case management. They help people that are struggling with housing issues, depression, elder abuse, all of those kinds of other issues that can prevent somebody from being independent and healthy. And we are seeing a lot more people struggle with anxiety, depression, and really lacking that social connectedness
Okay.
that I think we're all kind of lacking right now.
Yeah.
But especially when you're a senior, that's even harder. And I think a big reason for that is we're really seeing the digital divide
Yeah.
between those of us that are on the younger side and seniors, and then also those of us that live more comfortably and those that are low income.
Hmm.
And so that's why we've really been thinking about how can we connect the people we serve, low income seniors,
Sure.
better to technology so that they can not only participate in some of our programs, but have that social interaction with their family or their friends.
Okay. Well, good for you guys because it obviously is a bigger challenge. Different organizations face different challenges, and certainly you guys have some larger ones. But it sounds like you're doing some great things to get in front of that. Um, Obviously, right now, Black Lives Matter is a huge social movement, and I'm curious from a nonprofit standpoint. When there is an issue like this that emerges to the forefront of society, is there, there's this phrase that, rising tide lifts all boats. Do you find that as a nonprofit when, there is this issue that's not related to the causes that you guys are working on directly? Do you find a benefit, of social awareness as a nonprofit?
Hmm. I mean, I think there's something to that. There is certainly a benefit when people are more socially aware. I hadn't really thought about that so much as thinking that nonprofit, my main takeaway is that nonprofits are not immune to the issues that of racial and systemic inequality that other companies face.
Sure.
Um, just because we do good doesn't mean that we are exempt from any of
Right.
the criticisms of the rest of society. And so I think it's really, what it's brought up for myself and my staff is it's really important for us to do that work too. And when I first came on board in January, that was already something that we had been talking about and something that was one of my priorities as a new executive director to bring conversations of diversity and equity into our organization. And then COVID kind of drew our attention away. So I'm certainly glad that the Lives Matter movement is at the forefront again and is pushing us all to have those conversations and to not let COVID distract from the really important issues. Not that COVID isn't important,
Sure.
but the other important issues that we need to tackle. So, I say that as a white woman, being very conscious of that.
Yep.
And so, what we're at Meals on Wheels Diablo region, we have a diversity, equity, and inclusion committee. We have our first lecture series today,
Okay.
actually, in a couple hours. And
Congrats.
so we're really, committed to maintaining that work and making sure it's not just a flash in the pan, that it has to be sustained and ongoing.
Well, I'm glad you brought it up because it's an interesting perspective where you started in that, we are a nonprofit, but it doesn't mean that we're immune to it. So, and I applaud you guys for proactively, putting initiatives in place so that it's not just a flash in the pan. The origin of my question leads to kind of the second thing, which is I know from, nonprofit standpoint, seasonally, there's a couple of big times of the year from a donation standpoint. And I know spring is one of those seasons, which just happened to coincide with everything that went sideways with COVID and then the immediate economic. What have you seen from donations and donors coming? Are you seeing up, down, the same? Is there qualitative data that goes along with that?
We're very lucky. I think Contra Costa is a very giving community, and very concerned about their fellow neighbors.
Sure.
So we did see a great outpouring of support during the spring. I think we're a little concerned at whether that will sustain and whether it will keep up with the need, because we know that seniors are probably going to be the last group that will feel comfortable re-entering
Sure.
society, as they should be wary.
Yeah.
And so we see that this uptick we've seen is not going to just go down overnight. and so there is some concern of, will the donations and the community continue to give at the rate that we're seeing the need increase? And so that remains to be seen. But we are very lucky that our spring campaign did very well.
Okay.
And we hope that the community continues to support us.
Okay, well, that's a great takeaway, and I would love to reiterate it because, to your point, the senior population will be the last ones that are comfortable, that are, able to feel safe coming out, and so the duration for the impact is much longer for them. So definitely want to echo, please support and be conscious of that. We talked about video earlier, technical limitations, and so I'm glad you guys are trying to, to help that, because it definitely is something that, can be an issue. I found that video is one of the most dynamic channels that we have available. And obviously, we've all been thrust into it, both personally and professionally, like overnight, where it's been around and everybody's been talking about video, but people were very slow to adopt it. I think there was apprehension. Maybe I'm a little nervous to see my face, to hear my voice, but this is my face and this is my voice. And I feel like, because we've had to use it for so long, we're kind of past that. So I'm curious to look at how businesses are thinking about leveraging video moving forward, right? Post-pandemic, how do we use this? Are you guys having discussions about how you can use video, not necessarily to interact with your customers, but maybe just to share messages or to get out into your community and share stories of giving?
It definitely has been something that we were talking about before COVID, was wanting to do more video. We've been, ever since last fall, trying to step up our social media game and get more content, more videos, more dynamic content,
Sure.
because we have a lot of pictures, but there's something about hearing somebody's voice and seeing them actually speak that I think is more dynamic and more pulls on your heartstrings a little bit more. So we're definitely trying to do more of that. It's been hard because we want to get out there and take videos, but we're also careful to not put our donors and our clients and our staff at risk. So that's been a little bit difficult, but it's definitely something that we want to do more of in the future, and leverage more of video.
Okay. Well, I'm glad to hear that, because one of the things that the secondary byproduct also is that I think that we've realized that it doesn't have to be high production, right? It can be as simple as a laptop or a camera phone, that you can do something that's meaningful, because at the end of the day, it is that human connection that really resonates. A lot of attention this past month or so around college graduates. It's been, it certainly would be a very peculiar time to graduate. So I'd like to go back in time a little bit. Early on, for you, you spent some time in Mexico as a instructor, teacher of English as a foreign language. I'd like to talk about that experience from twofold. Just being in a different culture is one aspect, and then just what that experience was, and how you think that has helped shape your career to where you are now.
Well, I loved teaching in Mexico. It was one of the best experiences of my life. It was really, really fun and really rewarding, and I met a lot of amazing people. Um, I think it definitely shaped, where I am today. I've always loved traveling
Mhm.
internationally. I've always loved experiencing other cultures. Um, but I think it definitely, traveling to different countries and different places, it gives you a unique perspective on what you have and what you have to be grateful for.
Sure.
And I think, for me, I always, I knew that I wanted to go into nonprofit work, because I knew that giving back was something that was very important to me. And if I was going to spend 8 hours a day every day,
Yeah.
you know, some of it had to be giving back to my community. And I've always felt very lucky to have grown up in the Bay Area and born to middle class parents who were able to provide.
Sure.
And I know that not everybody is so lucky. So I think that, um, I kind of knew that before living in Mexico, but you definitely see it's different living in another country than vacationing there.
Right.
It definitely was not at a resort. Um, and so you just meeting people from different backgrounds that don't necessarily have everything that you have makes you realize how important it is to give back, and really how lucky you are, because I think sometimes we tend to forget that. You can tend to just go day by day and take it for granted a little bit. So I think it's important to remember that.
Well said, and thank you. Obviously, it's a great thing to do. So, certainly encourage more college kids to think about it. So,
Yeah, it was a
I,
great way for me. I studied abroad in Madrid when I
okay,
was in college, and it was a great way after college to be able to travel, but be able to afford to
sure.
travel for that
Yeah.
long by actually having a job. It was a really great way to kind of not enter the daily grind here in the Bay Area too quickly, and to kind of get out of my comfort zone for a year. I would recommend it to anybody graduating right now.
I second that recommendation. Next question is around mental health. We talked about it a little bit earlier as it pertains to kind of your customers, right? The people
Mhm.
that you serve. How do you as a leader, what have you done to kind of make sure you stay balanced? And how do you guys help the team to do that? It looks like is this home office or is this office?
This is office.
Okay,
Yeah,
so,
we've always been an essential business.
okay.
So although most of us are not in the office, we do have a bit of a skeleton crew that's here, making sure the meals get out.
Okay,
If I'm going to
so
ask them to be here, I should probably be here too.
without question, best leadership is definitely led by leaders. But how have you approached that? Because I know that it has been a challenging time because it's been complete disruption. How do you just stay balanced?
It has been challenging. I think for me, it, for me, it's been critically important to get outdoors,
Okay,
because I am working long hours and I am working longer hours than normal. And so getting out of four walls is really important. And it's one of the things that you can actually do during COVID times. So getting out hiking, um, doing that kind of stuff is, physical activity, I think is really, really important to keep that mind balance. And then, I think keeping up with people socially, as we may not be able to get together with all of our friends as much as we're used to, but, you know, doing FaceTime or Zoom with your friends and your faraway family, that's been helping to keep me balanced as well.
good. Well, I'm a big outdoor enthusiast, so that definitely was my go-to through this because I think that it's just fresh air, honestly, is just good for the soul, kind of thing. So. Um,
100%.
Is there anything else you think is important right now, either that something that you guys are doing that is of interest or just anything you think would be helpful to other businesses that are struggling?
I think, I think it's, in a weird way, COVID has brought a awareness to everyone
Sure.
of the issues seniors face. And I think that's something that we are grateful for, because it's at least one of the reasons why I wanted to come to Meals on Wheels Diablo Region, is because I really felt like people too often forget about seniors, and
Right.
these are people that have worked their whole lives to give us what we have today, and the fact that we don't always treat them with the dignity and respect that they deserve, is sad to me. And so I think, that's one thing that I wanted to tackle coming here at Meals on Wheels Diablo Region. And I think, like I said, in a weird kind of way, people are more aware acutely aware of the issues seniors face because COVID is, they're one of the most high risk groups
Right.
for COVID. And so, if anything, I hope that's what comes out of this, is that people remember that seniors are somebody that we all owe a great deal of gratitude to, and we need to make sure that they're cared for, as we care for one another.
Couldn't agree anymore. So thank you for the work that you're doing for your community. Wish you guys nothing but the best, and hopefully would love to have you back again next year to just see how this community support is maintaining as we get back to whatever normal used to be or what it's going to be. So
Yeah, well, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. It's been great talking to you.
thanks, Caitlin.
Take care.